So, a while back, I did a video on what would happen if the alliance-horde war back in Cata and Mop ended hostilities permanently between the two playable factions. In that video, I mentioned how the alliance would most likely follow in the footsteps of their predecessor and collapse. That predecessor being, of course, the Alliance of Lordaeron. I didn't get to go into much detail about the Alliance of Lordaeron, and since my previous video is not the best quality compared to my most recent stuff, I decided to once again go over exactly how the Alliance of Lordaeron fell. To start, we need some context. So, the Alliance of Lordaeron was formed after the fall of Stormwind at the end of the First War to combat the rampaging horde from destroying their way of life in the Second. The Alliance of Old was a pact between the 7, now 6 because Stormwind fell, human kingdoms, the dwarves and gnomes of Khazad-dûm, and the high elves of Quel'Thalas. To make a long, grueling story short, the Alliance under the command of Sir Anduin Lothar until his death at the decisive Battle of Blackrock dealt the Horde a swift and fatal defeat which ended Horde aggression and scattered the once united clans across the eastern kingdoms. The Alliance would then round up these scattered orcs and place them into internment camps around Lordaeron. Then, to make sure their enemy would never return ever again, the Alliance ordered an expedition led by General Turellian to go through the Dark Portal and put an end to the orcs once and for all. This move turned out to be both successful and very costly, as the expedition sacrificed themselves to destroy the Dark Portal on their side of Draenor, securing Azeroth, but at the loss of some very notable and very important Alliance personnel. But hey, the Alliance won. They found total victory, with any remaining enemies becoming lethargic, useless, or pushovers. Victory was assured. Peace had been attained. But here's a question for you. What happens when a unified front is without a great enemy? What happens when there is no longer a clear and universal goal to achieve? What happens when the leaders you once rallied your people behind die or go missing? What happens when the one left in charge is a man you don't agree with? What happens when that man is a king of a rival nation? Well, for the Alliance of Lordaeron, for most military factions on Azeroth and in our own world, the answer to all of those questions vary but lead to one outcome. You begin to stagnate. Internal issues, racial distrust, and past prejudice come to the forefront of Alliance affairs when there is no enemy to fight. There were taxes to rebuild Stormwind, taxes to keep the orcs locked up, a denial of territorial gains, and a diminish of national power for every side but the one in charge. So if you're a leader of a nation and you are affected by the choices of a far-off king, you might begin to question the faction's choices. You might begin to lose faith in what it stands for. And all it takes is for one person, one ruler, to light the spark and set the entire alliance aflame. King Anasterion Sunstrider of Quel'Thalas, father to Kelthis and king of the High Elves, did just that. You see, the elves had no love for the humans, and the humans had no love for the elves. The elves were cold. They were independent, and they were isolated. They never wanted to join the Alliance to help the humans fight the Horde, but they had to. The orcs were a universal threat, and at the time, division and neutrality was not an option. But that time had passed. The orcs were gone. The leaders King Sunstrider placed his faith in were gone as well. And his allies, the human kingdoms, they all bickered and feigned conflict over borders, taxes, and national sway. And so, with a feeling relating to deja vu, the elves were the first to pull out. They rescinded their loyalties to the Alliance of Lordaeron and sparked a mass upheaval in the faction membership. Gilneas and Stromgarde followed suit, leaving under the pretenses of lost power, pointless taxation, and acquisition of land. Alterac had already been wiped off the map during the war itself, and Dalaran would later crumble under the weight of the Burning Legion during the Third War. Then you have Kul'Tiras, who would vacate the faction soon after the ill-gotten response to the death of their leader, Dalen Proudmoore, and the rise of the new horde in far-off Kalimdor. And lastly, Lordaeron itself would soon fall under the wake of a mysterious plague and the tragedy of Arthas Menethil.
What is this? What are you doing, my son?
Succeeding you, father.
Of course, the Alliance would go on under the guidance of Stormwind, but it too possessed the same exact problems as its predecessor, and only now, after the events of the Blood War, are we finally realizing the dirty truth. The Grand Alliance is no different than the Alliance of Lordaeron. For example, the leader that the Alliance once united around is gone. His replacement aspires to peace despite past transgressions and relations. After the burning of Teldrassil and the exile of the Kaldorei people, Tyrande, leader of the Night Elves, has become a cold ally to the rest of the Alliance. Gilneas, Kulturas, and the others question the new king's attempts at peace and bicker over the fate of the Horde and the outcome of their most recent war. If you paid attention at all, that should sound very familiar. And lastly, let me just end this video by saying something that has become clear as time has gone on. The Alliance never needed to lose a war to fall from grace. The Horde never needed to win to strike at the heart of their age-old enemy. The Alliance was too strong, militarily, economically, culturally. Instead, all the Alliance actually needed to do was win a decisive war over the Horde and begin the process of repeating history. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this video, Warcraft, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching.